And we're live. We are live. Hello, hello, hello. We are live with graphics and more importantly, with Jehan Daruvala. Hello, Jehan. How are you?
Woo!
Welcome, welcome,
Hello.
welcome to our show. You
Thank you.
just put the lights out graphic up, Azim. After we've gone live. That's
No,
amazing.
I did it in time. Don't worry.
Thoroughly professional endeavor here with these graphics. But Jehan, thank you so much for being on this show. I know I'm excited. I know all of us are excited. I know that our chat and people who have been watching this podcast are super excited. So first, I just like to talk to them and say that if you have any questions for Jehan, please drop them in the chat. And I know that there's going to be a lot of questions, so we don't know that we can answer every single one, but we will do our best to answer as many as possible. And yeah, I think on that note, we can get started. Hello, Jehan.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me.
The chat
Okay.
didn't believe it until right now. They were like,
Yeah, they were like, this is an April Fool's joke 4 days
April
later.
Fool's joke.
Yeah, for a 4-day late April Fool's joke.
Yeah. We just got some random other Jehan from Dadar Parsi colony and we were going to just like drop him in, but then they realized. So the reveal is out. Yeah. It's the
Yeah,
real
so,
Jehan.
it's funny. Actually, the only other person named Jehan I know is a guy whose name is Jehan Driver. And that's why I would always get confused. Like, is it Jehan Daruvala? Is it Jehan Driver? Which one is the F1 driver? But anyway.
that's what they call this Jehan and Prema. Jehan driver.
Okay, guys, should we get started with our questions?
Yes.
I think we should.
Okay, I'm gonna go first. So Jehan, I've been following you closely, obviously, currently, and I know a lot of our viewers have as well. But we would just love to hear how you got started, with motor racing and your journey to like how you got here today.
Yeah. So yeah, it's actually been a long journey. It's almost been 12 years now since I started racing. It all began. I used to just watch Formula One on TV with my family. We were like motorsport enthusiasts, like our Parsi Sunday kind of thing, just watching F1. And I never really took it seriously. I just enjoyed the speed and stuff of watching racing. And we didn't really think there was anything in India, so it was kind of just like leave it to the side. But my dad knew I was a motorsport enthusiast, and he was traveling around for work. And on a flight, he just picked up a random magazine or newspaper from the seat cover, and he saw that Raymond Banerjee was holding a training camp for young karters in Powai. And he asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was super, super excited. I did have an English exam on the Monday. It was on a weekend, so yeah, it took a little bit of convincing for my mom, but finally, it was done and sorted. So that's when it all started, and yeah, it's been a long 10, 12 years, a long journey, and finally I've gone all the way from karting up until Formula 2, and I'm really happy to be here.
That's so cool. So you did karting, then you had a stint in, I think, Formula Renault as well. Was that the thing?
Yeah,
then?
so my kind of progress was I went from go-karts to Formula Renault, from Formula Renault to Formula 3. And from there, I've progressed from Formula 3 into Formula 2. And currently, I'm in my third season of F2, my third and last season. So, hopefully next year will be Formula 1.
Fingers crossed for that.
We're all hoping the same thing, dude. I mean, Jehan, you mentioned like you were sort of, you grew up and as a kid, it was a Sunday family thing to watch the races and stuff. And I know you're like a big Fernando Alonso fan, right? Like he's one of the drivers that you look up to. Like at that point in time, were there like who was your team? Were you like a big Renault supporter, or was it like Alonso is my thing, or like his battles with Michael at that time were legendary, right? Like, so what was who and how was it in your family as well? Like who supported who, and like was it like a thing of competition with your family as well?
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I was a big Alonso fan. I still am. But, those were the days when I started watching racing, when he won the World Championships with Renault. And then in 2007, actually, like Hamilton was the new kid on the block. And my dad loved Lewis from day one. Just, how he came, started fighting a two-time back-to-back world champion, giving him a run for his money. So it was kind of like my dad was Hamilton. I was Alonso, both rivals in the same team. So
the same team, no less. Yeah.
Sherry, do you like Jehan less now? Sorry, Jehan. So Sherry is a huge Hamilton fan.
It's all
so
in
since
the
you were
family.
Alonso,
It's his dad's
the reason we all started smiling there in the middle is because Sherry's like, okay, speak my language now. But yes, please continue.
Yeah, so
so-
yeah, that was definitely one of the best, championships at the end. Obviously,
It's
Kimi
true.
came in, but there was a epic 3-4 way battle all the way
Yeah.
till the end.
Yeah.
It's true. Yeah.
That's
I
quite
mean-
interesting. So, sorry, so obviously you were Fernando Alonso and Renault fan when you started out. Red Bull Academy driver driving for technically a Ferrari Academy team right now. So you've done the entire journey, like from a fan of from Renault to Red Bull to this thing. So right now, currently, if we ask you which one out of the three would you pick?
I mean, I was definitely not a Renault fan. I was an Alonso fan. Yeah. So, and also with Prema, it's not really a Ferrari team. It's similar to how Red Bull
Yeah.
are doing it now. Wherever the juniors go, their logos kind of go on the car. So,
Right.
Prema is their own kind of brand. And yeah, so out of the three, definitely Red Bull is my favorite, and it's my team to go to right now for sure.
Nice.
Also, now that we're speaking about F1 teams, right? What about, can you speak a little bit about that Force India 1 in a billion event when you're like in the top three, weren't you?
Yeah, so at that time, the event was for all young karters between the age of 14 to 18. At that time, I wasn't eligible because I was too young. So luckily, they came up with like this wildcard entry where they would choose one person below the age of 14 and one person above the age of 18 across the whole of India. And I qualified by 1/100th of a second. And so that 1/100th of a second, really changed my life and made a big difference because that's when I was associated with Force India. And at that time, we were part of top go-karting teams. I had the top driver coaches everywhere I went in the world. So that 1/100th of a second was really life-changing.
So
Did you
my
ever
right
get to meet
saying-
Mr. Malia?
Yeah, I did. I definitely did meet Mr. Malia.
And
So being in
did
that
he-
top three meant that you got to go to England, right? To start.
Yeah. So at that time, the top 10 had gone to England, and we did a lot of media training, like working out, driving cars. So it was not only the driving part of it, but a lot of the stuff put together. And yeah, in the end, out of this, so it went from like 100 to 50, 50 to 25, 25 to 3, to 10, and 10 to 3. And I was in the end chosen as the last three.
It was you, Arjun Mani, and
And
Tarun.
Tarun.
Reddy? Yeah.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Amazing. But okay, so let's jump closer to the present now. So you had a pretty good season last time out. So how would you evaluate your 2021 season? Like how would you look back at it?
Yeah, I obviously had a victory, a few podiums. So it wasn't a bad season, but it was not really the one I wanted. In the end, I wanted to be fighting for the championship, and it didn't quite work out. Yeah, so that's why I'm here for my last attempt in the best team in Formula 2. So definitely this year, the goal is to get to Abu Dhabi, fighting for the championship trophy.
We are totally going to be supporting you and backing you all the way. Everybody in the chat is here, so I'm part of a Indian
Yeah, I
racing
have-
community, and all of those guys have told me that tell Jehan that there's like thousands of people who are totally watching every race he does and supporting him. So yeah, it's going to
So
be a
while,
great
while you're
journey.
speaking of the audience, we have questions from the chat already. So a question from Saket Sharma is, and this is actually something that I'm also very curious about. Jehan, for everybody who doesn't understand the high risks in a Formula 1 or 2 car, could you please give us an insight about how it is to be in an F2 car and what physical strength and endurance it takes to do that? So to sort of specify that a little bit, like what is the regimen like? In a sense, you obviously see people doing all of these exercises, etc. But I'm trying to sort of understand what specifically you have to hone on in order to sort of put your body through that.
Yeah, it's very difficult for me to explain to someone who's not done it. But these cars are super physical, especially in Formula 1. It's really physical on the neck. They carry high G forces, but in Formula 2 we also don't have power steering, so there's a lot of weight that goes through our arms and stuff to the race. Like definitely the last round in Jeddah, after speaking to all of the drivers, it was probably the most physical race we have all done. All of us were really tired. We needed a couple of days off, just sore arms, sore elbows, sore neck. And we do train as much as we can for it, but at the end of the day, the best training is actually driving the car and putting yourself through those kind of G-forces.
Nice. And sorry, just one follow up on the subject of training. So, how much time, like especially before a season starts and like before, say, going onto a new track, how much time do you actually end up spending, in the simulator, and how close is it to reality?
So to prepare for a race, it's kind of, obviously the physical training, the physical aspect remains the same for all the races. I also prepare myself mentally. I have a mind coach who I see before all my weekends. And the actual part or training for the weekend, I go to Italy for 2 days before every race because my team is based there. We go through all the processes, the preparation. So I spent 2 days in Italy on the sim, and also another day at Red Bull at the Red Bull Center at Milton Keynes. So around 3 days before every race event, we spend on the sim, and it's never the same as the real car, but it's as close as we can get.
Nice.
Right. I'm going to take a quick chance to read out some super chats. Abhishek Verma says, Viva Las Vegas, Sidepod is the 442 of F1 fan base. Aditya stats remind me of Atharva for Arjun. Remove the rubber from the brake pedal spring on the G29 for smooth braking. So good to see Jehan on the stream. And Pratham wants to know, how did you feel about that triple overtake in Jeddah?
Oh,
I mean, it felt really good at the time. It wasn't really planned, but then I saw a gap, and I just told myself, I might as well try. I'm 12th right now. This one overtake can really change my entire race. So, I did 2 cars last year, so why not 3 the year after? But yeah, it was definitely one of my best overtakes, and in the end, small things make a big difference. If I didn't overtake those cars in turn 1, I would have probably not ended up on the podium. So the small risks have big rewards at the end of the race.
But that was quite.
What do you think it is?
Up and
Like,
down. No, go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Arjun.
No, I was just talking about the same race only. It was a damn good race, Jehan. And I mean, you got, unfortunately for most of us Indian viewers, you got precious little TV coverage because the battle for the lead was taking up all the sort of coverage and everything. But man, that was really like showcasing your race IQ, so to speak, in a really cool way as well. Like you really made you were put into that position where you had to go into the pits and everything, but like the hard tire stint was fantastic. It's something, I don't know, like, I mean, this year, what is it about the Prema team this year? They're not getting right on Friday. Like that's putting you in these positions where you have to start from like the midfield, like, I mean, I feel like we're really seeing the best of you in the race, but because you're sort of, in the sort of midfield, it's hard to make that jump.
Yeah. So in Bahrain, we kind of most people did 2 laps on each set of tires in qualifying. To really maximize qualifying, we use only 1 lap on each set. To over a race distance, it does help you 5 or 6 seconds, but if you do qualify out of place, then it is difficult. But in the end, our goal in Bahrain was to qualify in the top 4 or 5, and we generally would have a chance to win both races there. And race 2, apart from Yuri, I was the second quickest car, but obviously I had a wing damage, so it didn't work out. And Jeddah was a fully different story. I actually had a rear roll bar of my car completely disconnected. It broke in the first lap of quali. So that was not representative at all. So we don't know where we would have been, but judging by the pace we had in the feature race, it would have definitely we would have been fighting at the front.
I also heard you had some like radio issues at the end, like with your gear clicks or something like that, like happening right at the end of that race as well. Like there was some radio issues that you went through.
Yeah, my radio was kind of loose at the end of the race. So in these cars, for upshifting, you get a beep in your ear to upshift, and you don't look at the steering wheel. And so I didn't. Obviously, my radio disconnected, so that means that it didn't come.
Oh. Whoa! His
just
as he said.
Yeah, wow.
Just as he said, my radio disconnected.
Wow. I think he pressed the disconnect button on his headphone.
Parsi. Hardcore. That is hardcore. That is like method podcasting happening here. Method podcasting, method racing,
There we go,
podcasting
Jehan. Back.
is happening. That's
Hey,
wild.
Jehan.
Hey, also, sorry, before we move ahead, I'm going to take that interrupt to go. Guys, we have over 1,000 people watching, but 453
Wow.
likes. That's some
That's-
bullshit. Please,
That's not
guys, come on.
acceptable.
Unacceptable. 1,000 people watching and 450 likes. Not okay.
I-
Let's do this.
I
Smash that
pressed
like
the
button.
wrong
Let more
button
people know
on
this is
my-
happening.
I
We've
cut
got
off.
Jehan here. This is not something that happens every day, mostly because Jehan has a life, unlike us. But come on, smash that like button. All right. So I have a question. You mentioned earlier that there was a hundredth of a second that changed your life. You get an overtaking gap like that, you take it. The thing that breaks my brain a little bit about especially motorsport is your entire life is dictated by such fine margins, right? Such fine margins. I think more than any other sport, in the sense that today, whether it's cricket or it's football, it's all of those things. There's overs and overs and overs, and there's minutes and minutes and minutes. But everything in your sport is dictated by like the sort of finest of margins. How do you sort of build the mindset, or rather, how do you sort of build a mindset where you don't take every hundredth of a second slower you are to heart, or then is the way to go that you have to take every hundredth of a second to heart? And how do you find that balance?
Yeah, at the end, motorsport is unique. At the end, you are driving a machine. So if the machine is however well you drive, if the machine, the end of the 1,000 bits put together, they all have to be perfect. You have to be perfect to extract the maximum. So, on any given day, it's the driver does make a difference, but all together, all the small things, like all the prep we have before the weekend, when you get to a stage like Formula 2, we literally have 3 or 4 laps before we go into qualifying, and we go from medium tires into soft tires. You break in every corner. 15 meters later, the tires last only 1 lap in qualifying. So the mindset is like really like just go for it and see what happens. And over the years of 8, 9, 10 years of racing, all these reflexes kind of come to you automatically, and your subconscious kind of takes over. And if you're thinking about everything in the moment, then you're almost too late. You have to be subconsciously doing most of the things.
And
Also,
then you live
just-
your personal life on a different pace, though, I would imagine, right? Like, I mean, not with this much level of intensity that every 10th counts, right?
Man,
I'm
I would
Yeah.
panic making dinner plans with Jehan. Like,
Yeah,
4
like-
seconds late, guys. I may
Late
as well
or
go
not.
home. I may
Yeah.
as well go home.
Jehan?
Out of the car, I'm quite really, really relaxed. I like having fun. Obviously, training is part of our life as a racing driver. And at the end, a lot of us live in London together. So we go training. We all want one goal at the end of the day, but we all know what we're going through. So we do spend a lot of time with each other, and also our friends off the track.
So what do you like to do in your downtime, Jehan? Like when you're not in season, off season?
I really like to come home when I can, if I have time. My friends, family in Bombay are still the closest for me, and that's why I still consider home. So I also miss the Parsi food, which you can't get better. So I think home is Bombay. That's where I love to spend my downtime.
Nice. And who are the drivers on the grid that you generally spend the most time with?
Currently, as the last couple of years, it's been Yuri Vips and Marcus Armstrong. We've been really close friends for the last 2 or 3 years, and we spend a lot of time together. We go and play tennis, paddle, squash, all together. To also keep fit and just keep our mind away from racing.
Is it as competitive with you guys, like in those kind of situations as well, like how it is on track, like any sportive competition?
Definitely, we hate
Oh,
losing.
yeah?
All of us.
Oh, damn.
And I think we are all like equally. When none of us are like pro at any of the sports, we are all decent enough at racket sports, and I guess really competitive.
Nice.
And
So-
just to go back to that mindset question, right? You had 2 weekends back to back, and especially after such a an epic race like Jeddah, and now you got an entire month off, or not off, but like you're not racing till Imola, right? So with your mindset, what is it like? Like you've just had that great race. Are you like let me just continue, man. Why do I have to take this break, or what's that like?
I I guess you can't really control it, so it's just something we accept as drivers. I would be lying if I had a bad race. I would definitely, my overall mood over the next 1 month would just be not as good. I would obviously forget about it when I can, but as and when what could I have done better, what could I have done better, it'll just keep coming up. So yeah, obviously coming off a good race also keeps you mentally in a good place, and you can look at it both ways. When you have back-to-back weekends, if you have a bad race, you want to make it good. If you have a good race, you want to continue the momentum. So I think it's just how you look at it. And yeah, for us, we have 1 month off, but last year we almost had 2 months off between all our races. So to have 14 rounds itself is quite a lot in Formula 2. So we are all, relishing it and looking forward to it.
So out of the 14 rounds, which is the track that you look forward to the most?
I'm looking forward to actually quite a few. Obviously, we are going to Imola for the first time. Zandvoort's going to be really, really physical for us. So I'm looking forward to that. Then going to Monaco back again will also be really cool. So honestly, we have a lot of cool tracks. Spa is my favorite track on the calendar, and we're going back there this year. So yeah, they all sound really, really interesting.
Man, last year at Spa with that rain and everything, it looked treacherous. Like, and it's just as treacherous in the machines that you're driving. Like, does that ever like cross your mind? Like, I mean, especially even Jeddah. Jeddah, such a high speed track. The walls are right there. Mick had that big accident on Saturday and everything. Like, how do you deal with that kind of stuff running through your mind, dude? Like when these sort of situations happen.
Yeah, in the rain, it's unbelievable. Really, when I say we don't say anything, we literally don't say anything. With the spray, as if you're like fifth or sixth car with the amount of spray, when you're on the straight, you basically look to the side because you can look to the side. You can't see it's a wall of spray, and you can't even see the rain light in for the car in front. Only when you look at the side, you see like 200-meter board, 150-meter board, and when you hit the brakes and the speed comes slower, and then you start to see a bit again, and then again you kind of lose sight. So yeah, if someone is spun in front of you, you would just never see them. It's pretty much impossible. So yeah, racing in the rain is definitely a unique experience. It's like 10 times more scary than racing on a street track. And last year we had Monaco in the rain and
wow.
Monaco, so it was definitely a cool experience.
Yeah, but how do you manage to figure out your braking points and brake markers in those situations? Like not just like in wet, but particularly when you have changeable conditions, when like if you're on wet tires and it's going to be inters weather. So how do you manage to like modulate and figure your brake gaps in those kind of conditions?
Most drivers use like references at the side of tracks, whether it's like 100-meter boards, 50-meter boards, curbs, whatever. So you just keep adapting. You brake and you feel you can brake a bit later. You try 4-5 meters the next lap. It's obviously really hard to pick a point, but like for example in qualifying, if the wind swaps from one lap to another, you just need to brake 10 meters later without even thinking. So you kind of develop that trust and downforce, and in these cars you really feel like the effect of wind and direction changes because you're already so on the limit when the wind changes. That's why you see drivers in F1 like randomly spinning or losing the car. It's just because they're already on the limit and a small bit of a gust of wind and they go into the wall.
And is this info that your race engineer is able to give you in real time that okay, there's going to be wind and okay, you can brake later, or is this something you just feel in the car that there's a wind or whatever?
In the car, it's impossible because you're already going at such speed. But the engineer does tell us normally, like right before the session or the start of the race, and most of these places it remains kind of the wind doesn't really change lap for lap, so you kind of have a base of how the wind is, and from there you kind of have a reference for all the corners. Obviously, if you have a headwind, you can brake way later.
Correct.
If you have a tailwind, just take it a bit easier on the brakes.
So many factors, man. It's just crazy. I mean, Like for me and like a lot of us who do like sim racing, for us it's just like, okay, tire wear and setup and this and that. But like wind and stuff is just, oh my God, how do you do it?
Is
Yeah,
there
it's pretty.
is
If you
there
pay me,
any
I will
sort
come
of
to your house and hold a fan in front of your face, Azim, to give you the
Sorry?
experience. If you pay me the sum of 500 rupees, I will come to your house,
Thank you, Rohan.
simulate the
Thank you.
experience
I
for
will
you.
take you up on that offer, Rohan.
As your friend. I will only charge you a little money for the pleasure of that experience. I have a couple of super chats to read out here. A couple of people who have questions. First is Om Prakash Swain, who says, Jehan Daruvala, love from Odisha. Sidepod, Goat Podcast, thank you. Anurag wants to know, Jehan, from the current F1 grid, who would you want as a teammate? Hashtag Sada Plan. And Rickster wants to know, who is the bigger threat to your championship run this season? Dragovic, Vips, or Lawson? Sorry if I got any of those names wrong. And can you discuss a driver's dynamics with their teammates in not just Formula 2, but in motorsport? Because again, it's this weirdly unique situation where you're beating everybody else, but also fighting your teammates.
Yeah, I guess in Formula One, you would take any teammate. They're all world-class drivers. So probably.
But if you could pick, dude,
if you pick a world-class driver,
it's a lottery
I know.
and it's totally up to you, Jehan. Whichever
I think-
one you get. Dr. Marco is not involved in this.
No, I guess if you really, really want to see where you are, you would a brave call would be against Max. But
Yeah.
in that Red Bull, if you can get anywhere near him, like you're really doing a good job. Then to talk about the F2 title fight, I honestly can't put one name down to it. The three names you mentioned obviously are going to be top runners throughout the year. There's also going to be, Porsche, my teammate probably. So in the end, it's hard to put one name down to it. It's definitely going to be 4 or 5 of us, I think, going all the way till the end. And, hopefully from all of them, I come out on top.
Yeah, come on. Let's go. Let's go.
Yeah. Hashtag Sada Plan. Was that a play on L
hashtag
Plan?
Sada Plan, yes.
Yeah. L plan.
Was that?
I
though?
think it's like
when you
it's like
mentioned
a running meme. Sada plan. It's like a running meme around Jehan, right? Jehan,
Yeah, Jehan, could you explain Sada Plan?
there's something going on here.
I don't quite fully think, but I guess the plan is for me to win F2 and go to F1. I think that's pretty much true. Pretty much what it is.
Let's go.
Good plan.
Yeah. Aditya, sorry, you were saying something.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying when you said you'd prefer Max as a teammate, what do you think about, like, that's your reference, but would you like someone like a Kimi, like he's not here right now, but would you have this older gentleman who's like helping you, being your
Older
proper mentor?
gentleman.
That just
I
sounds
don't know how
wrong.
to put it, man.
Wow.
I think if I can speak on behalf of all racing drivers, no one is here to really help you at the end of the day. Even if they say they are, they want to beat you every time they jump in the car. If they say they are helping you, it's just to be nice because you can see their data. But at the end of the day, no one wants to really, everyone wants to be their teammate. It is how it is. Because that's your sole, especially in Formula One, it's the sole guy in the same car as you. So if he's constantly beating you, you're going to be out of a job quite soon. So no one is there to help the other one.
Man, and you've had some really top tier elite teammates in the last few years, like Marcus and Robert, and of course Yuki, and people like that. Tell us about this Norwegian gentleman who's joined you at this point in time, like Dennis Hauger. How's it been sort of working with this kid? Is he everything that everybody is like talking him up to be?
I guess he is. He's a Formula 3 champion. He pretty much dominated the whole season. We'll see in the next few races. The more everyone rates him, that also puts me higher up in everyone else's radar. So at the end of the day, he's a F3 champion. He will be fighting at the front in F2, and I gotta keep fighting and hopefully beat him all the time or as many times as I can.
Any Norwegian stuff that you've picked up on recently? Anything?
No, no.
No, not at all.
But sorry,
It's
just
such a
on the-
melting pot of cultures also. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many people from around the world that you get to sort of meet and hang out with. Must be such
Yeah.
a
I mean,
weird experience.
I think he finds it hot even over like 20 degrees. That's the only thing. He's not used.
Yeah.
Jeddah of all places.
But
Okay, I have a question, guys.
yes, go
Can
for
I
it.
go?
Yeah.
Please.
Jehan, what are the biggest challenges you feel you faced in your career so far?
Yeah, there has been a lot of challenges I faced so far in my career. I think I constantly face them, all the time. Even now, I think mentally the challenges are the biggest. There's a lot of times where you kind of doubt yourself, or you think, this is it. My dream is over. A couple of bad races, and that keeps popping up all the time. And especially in a sport like racing, you can be a hero one day, and the next day you're forgotten. So. Yeah, it's pretty difficult to deal with all the ups and downs, but I have realized that there's going to be a lot of downs in motorsport, and you just have to kind of learn through that path, accept that. And at the end, that's what makes winning feel even sweeter. If you're winning all the time, I guess it's sweet, but when it takes a lot of effort, a lot of sacrifice, in racing, it does feel really nice. So the biggest thing I've learned is to deal with the downs of racing, and try to stay as positive as you can, and keep looking forward to learning and moving on to the next one.
Jehan,
That's
I
one
had
thing
a
that,
question.
to,
Okay, go for it.
Sorry.
Yeah. Enjoy your life.
We spoke about what you just said, right? I think Drive to Survive has done that really well, bringing out the human side of the racers.
Yeah.
Just in terms of, we see a guy spin, and people who don't drive are like, how's he spun there? But the aftermath of it really makes it solidifies. Yep.
Jehan, so we have a lot of interest in Formula Regional for this season in India. We have the Hyderabad Street Circuit, and also I think there's a race at Kari and a race at Budh as well, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, but how excited are you, and do you know anything about these tracks? Particularly that Hyderabad Street Circuit sounds very exciting.
Yeah, I think this is hopefully it all works out really well. It's really big for Indian motorsport. The Mumbai Falcon guys,
Yes.
are carrying on a great initiative and starting, something that's never been done before in India. So, hopefully for them and for everyone in India, it works out, perfectly and goes to plan. These tracks, Hyderabad, street circuit in India sounds pretty cool. Unfortunately, I've not driven on any race car tracks in India. I've not driven at Chennai. I've not driven at Budh. So the tracks look cool, but I have no personal experience from those tracks to really say too much about.
Right. I have some more audience questions. If anybody wants to
Go for it.
listen. Sampath Sai wants to know, how's the experience working with Dr. Marco, and what are his suggestions for this year? Also, Shrey wants to know, who's the GOAT, Seb or Lewis?
I think I would just say Lewis. He's 7-time world champion. So yeah, Lewis. And working with Dr. Marco has been actually pretty good. He's a pretty straightforward guy. He says it how it is. There's a lot of pressure on all of us to perform, and in the end, if you don't perform, you're out. It's pretty simple. For me, that's how it is. He's been pushing me to be a lot more aggressive the last couple of seasons, and towards the end of last year and this year, it has definitely shown. So from that side, things are going quite positively.
Just to point out, in the meanwhile, we are being raided by F1 India Discord. So we acknowledge your raid. How do you respond to a raid? I don't know how to do this streaming thing.
2 thumbs up.
Yes.
We will never surrender, and we will die with our boots on. That is how I assume. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Man, how is it-
Ever experienced income tax raids? Sorry.
Jehan, just like as a fanboy, okay, like now, say Fernando was your favorite driver when you were growing up, and now there's Lewis and everything. And on F1 race weekends when F2 is also around, are you hanging out with these people? Like, have you ever met Fernando and like taken a selfie with him type of scene, or like is that on the radar as well, or something you'd like to do?
If I'm honest, no, winning a race just about gets me a bit excited. So, going and seeing a Formula One driver, it's not really something that excites me or anything. So, yeah, if I'm there in the paddock, I would go and say hi or something, but it's not something that really gets me excited or anything I look forward to on a weekend.
Have you had a cool, fun experience with meeting like a Formula One driver, and he or she, not or she, he has given you, some quirky piece of advice or a tip on how to make an exciting cocktail or something? I don't know. Like, have you had one of those like cult experiences? Like,
Uh, Not really, but obviously I'm still quite good friends with Lando Norris, and I also keep in touch with Yuki, now Joe. So all of the younger generation, I've raced with or been around in the past, so it's a lot easier to interact and talk with them on a normal basis. So no real like interesting kind of
Yeah.
yeah
Well,
conversations as such.
we have an interesting proposition for you because Sherry has been pitching a sitcom called Yuki in the UK, and we've been looking for a second lead character to have along with Yuki for that. And since y'all are friends, I think why not? It should be Yuki and Jehan in the UK right now.
I don't think he's in England anymore. He's moved to Italy.
Well,
I had a
Sherry, your
name
show
for
is
that.
Show,
cancelled.
the show's cancelled, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I had a title for that, like Yuki in the UK, and I think it's going to suck, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Please.
Sare Jehan se acha.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow.
I
Slow clap.
mean, I don't
Slow
know.
clap.
Should I just walk out? Should I just leave?
No,
Yeah.
I think it's, you know what? No, you know what? I feel like if not a show, that could absolutely be an Amul hoarding one day.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I feel like you shouldn't lose hope in such
Okay.
matters, Arjun. This is my feeling.
We had another audience question. This is from Debanjan, who was asking to Jehan, do you think LGB 1300 is a good starting point for a race engineer in India?
Honestly, I've not driven those LGB cars, but at the end of the day, it's a race car. It has an engine. It's a machine. Anywhere you can start learning, whether it's from go-karts or from a LGB car, you have to start somewhere. So yeah, I think definitely it's a stepping stone into engineering. So yeah, I would definitely not discourage it in any way.
So there's another question that sorry, Sherry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So there's a question that somebody else in the audience asked earlier. There's something I wondered about also. It's such an expensive sport. So somebody's asked, like, is it even plausible for a middle class Indian kid to dream about a future in motorsport? And I think that's a fair question. So I don't know, Jan, what do you think?
I'm just going to add to that, because my question is very similar, Rohan. I actually wanted to also, if you could add to where does one start? Like, because I know a lot of kids look up to you today and say, I want to be Jehan someday. So what advice would you give them in terms of starting out? Where should they start?
Yeah, I think, it's not a secret that motorsport is a super expensive sport, and the more you go up the ladder, the more expensive it becomes pretty much until you become a professional racing driver. So, at the end of the day, it is super hard to get to Formula One, being from a middle class family without any sort of sponsorship. And it is also quite difficult to get sponsorship. But, that's one way where India as such can improve. I know a lot of people in Europe where they come from like middle class backgrounds, and they have a lot of schemes in like France, England as such, where they support drivers with potential and they push them all the way to Formula One. So such a thing in India would be massive, and I think that would encourage a lot of kids to even get into it in the first place. And to talk about starting a journey, it can start as simple as just going to Rayoman's kart track. If you're at Indy karting, he still speaks to me. He keeps in touch about my journey. He's always in touch with me, and he's seen where I've started and where I've reached, and he's always given me good advice along the way. So he's really good at judging people and how good you are and where to go. So it's almost as easy as that.
Do you see something like that in your future, Jehan, like giving back to like the community, like how Rayo has done it, like, sort of brought up so many young Indian drivers to a global level?
Yeah. Honestly, I haven't really thought about my future as such after racing. It's something I would definitely like to do. To encourage young Indian boys to get far in racing. Uh, yeah, it would be hard to coach and not drive, but I guess you have
Yeah.
to just resist that temptation.
Boys and girls, hopefully. Maybe we
Yeah,
have the first woman Formula One driver from India. How cool would that be?
That would be awesome.
yeah, that would
Yeah.
be awesome.
There was an interesting question that I saw on the chat. Sorry, go ahead. Who was saying?
It was me. So on the topic of that, right? Do you see sim racers getting into it as well? The guy who races with you, Chem Parsi.
Yeah,
Is that an option?
it's definitely a plausible option, but I think the best option is to learn from go-karting and move forward, because you learn like pure racing in go-karts. Sometimes even in car racing we only follow each other. It's hard to get close and stuff. In karting you really learn the basics, and the feeling of a simulator at the end is different to what you feel in the car. Because you get more feeling through your hands and stuff for the force feedback, but in a racing car it's through your entire body. You feel the grip like more from your ass basically when you're driving, and not really from your hands. So yeah, it's definitely a different feeling. But I think Basi has shown that it is possible, and it's definitely one way to enter into, say, Formula cars.
But it's probably too late for Azim, right?
It's too late for me. Yeah, it's
yeah. Okay.
33.
Just
See, I saw that there's a lower age limit for Formula 2. They didn't have an upper age limit, so I'm still
Azim,
hopeful.
for a sum of 500 rupees, I will speak to the people at Formula One on your behalf as your friend.
Done. Let's do it. But Jehan, do you play, or have you played any of the F1 games?
Yeah, I do play it, but I only play it on my remote, so it's not the same as the wheel.
Of course.
I don't take it too seriously. If I have a group of friends who play the PlayStation, and as in when I have time, I get along and I play some races.
Nice.
Yeah,
a lot
right
of
now,
these
Azim,
guys are
Azim is
into it.
Azim is dying to turn around, show off his setup behind him, and in the only context possible, look at you and be like, amateur.
No, actually,
Azim,
I'm dying to
do
ask Jehan to come and race with us, but we'll do that later on in life. But yeah.
Listen, I saw an interesting question by Darshan Chokhani, who is a journalist who covers F1. I know that. I saw it in the chat. He asked, and I think it's a cool question, Jehan. Do you think with the advent of what he calls freak talents, like Max, Lando, George, Oscar, does it put pressure on drivers like yourself, perhaps, who are more methodical and who take this sort of step-by-step approach to get, into it? What do you think?
I mean, I really haven't thought of it that much. If anything, the young drivers have shown over the last 5 or 6 years that they are the ones to look forward to. Not really. Any young driver who's competitive in Formula 2, when they jump into a Formula 1 car, they are there. So it proves that the youth is where they need to go to, and it gives us more confidence than anything. When you've been fighting guys like this the last 2-3 years, and they can do it. It just gives you more confidence that you can do it. And not only that, I think it gives Formula 1 team principals, that feeling like, these kids are actually pretty good. They're not just there, for a laugh or for fun, but they can do the serious business.
Crazy.
Rohan, I think we had a few more super chats. I do see some of them over here. We had Vismay, who was loving once again that triple overtake in Jeddah. Sabyasachi Roy saying, does Jehan follow Formula 1 dank memes? Interesting. And Ipsit Nayak, I think we've already asked this, who was his main rival in F2. But what about that? That's an interesting thing, right? Because obviously being in this sport and the amount of memes and stuff that are made about the sport, the drivers, how do you process do you see occasionally? I'm sure there would have been 1 or 2 memes made about you and the overtake and the 5-second penalty and all that. So how do you react to being memed?
I guess if it's funny, I laugh. If it's not funny, then I just kind of ignore it. I've kind of I guess all professional sportsmen at one stage, when they make it, they do get a lot of flack. However good you are, and so I think the best thing is just not to read it and to focus on the things that matter. Which is that every time you work hard and you give your best, and what people say doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
And we have one more that's come in. Mohit has asked, what would you tell your 16-year-old self when you got into the sport in retrospect? Good question.
Well, I got in this sport when I was 10.
So, Chalo, what would you tell your 10-year-old self? But then would that 10-year-old be able to comprehend such heavy thoughts of a 23-year-old? That's another existential question. Yeah.
I know what I would tell myself. Honestly, in the last 10 years or such, I have no regrets. So I've got to do everything I love. I think it would have been more difficult. I guess, what would I tell myself if I was 10?
Break little earlier after safety car restart in Jeddah.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And 10-year-old Jehan wondering, what is that thing that what?
This track that doesn't exist?
Buy Bitcoin.
I guess.
Bitcoin.
That's one thing for sure. If it was 10 years ago, I would have told myself that.
All right. Do we have more questions from the chat?
Okay, while you're looking for questions, Jehan, I have a question for you. What are your thoughts on the current F1 season and predictions for this year?
I think it's definitely going to be a battle between Red Bull and Ferrari. I do see Checo adapting to this car better than he had last year, so I think he will be in the fight as well. And in the end, I think at the end it's going to go down between Max and Charles, and I think hopefully it is Max again, but we never know. I think Ferrari have a great package, so do Red Bull. So my vote is for Max, I think, to be world champion.
So do you think Mercedes are already, it's too late for them now, or when they do come back still?
I don't think it's too late as such, but I just don't see them catching Red Bull and Ferrari, to be honest. So I think they'll be third with quite some ease, but I don't see them catching Red Bull and Ferrari.
Makes sense. So Sherry is very disappointed that you're
Yeah,
not saying Mercedes.
I regret asking that question.
Sherry's going to go offline now. Suddenly in the middle of this, like, you're just going to see her like, suddenly going to become a 5-person chat. I'm sorry, Sherry. Can't always go your way.
It's all good. It's all good. You win some, you lose some.
Do you think there's a F1 sort of test or something like that in your near to midterm future now, Jehan? Like something to give Indian fans something to root for from F1 standpoint?
I would definitely hope so. And I will be trying my best, but you just don't know yet. I think I need to keep performing, keep trying to win races in F2, and hopefully I just earn my opportunity that way.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
I think that's it from us. Any more questions, friends? Otherwise, we can.
We also want to change the fact, Jehan, that like the last Indian technically to get into a F1 car was Mahavir Raghunathan. It'd be great, Jehan, if you could change those stats for us. So
he's gonna do it. Sada plan, guys. Sada plan.
Sada plan. Hashtag.
Sada plan. Hashtag Sada plan. Let's make it happen. On that note, Jehan, thank you so much for joining us. This has been great. All the best for the rest of the season. Thank you so much for coming on here and supporting our little motorsport endeavor. And everybody, Jehan OP in the chat, please. Hashtag Sada plan. Go follow Jehan on Instagram and obviously follow him on Race Weekend. Because the races do stream live every weekend on Hotstar. So please go watch that as well. And Jehan, always rooting for you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. Great. Nice to talk to you.
Thanks, Jehan. We're all
Thanks, Jehan.
Thank you, guys. Thanks. Cheers.
go. Sada plan
Thank
it
you.
is. There we go. Thanks,
Sada
Jehan.
plan
Thank
it
you
is.
so much for joining.
Thank you. Bye.
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 And then
All
we
right.
got our first guest.
Yeah. We had our first guest. Holy shit! On episode 4. How do we do that? Chat. How do we do? How do we do? Give us feedback. Tell us whether it was good, bad, all of that. Tell us all of those things.
Yeah, so now Aditya is
Maza aa
going to
gaya.
do the telemetry of Jehan's chat. He's going to tell us about his breathing patterns and when he lifted his leg slightly and all of that.
And my breaking points, I was like not getting it right.
Dutch is saying, I hope Max wins just to irritate you, Lewis fanboys, Rohan and Sri. Abey, Lodu, tu kaun sa podcast dekh raha hai? He's saying, I'm the Lewis fanboy.
There is only one who is not even boy.
Bhai, tu kya dekh raha hai? Matlab, bhai,
Jehan left and the next word is Abe Lodu.
holding it in for 45 minutes, correct? You had an entire podcast where I have not used any profanity. I've been holding it in. I think I've done very well. Before we go, I would like Mr. Banatwala, you have something special for us.
Yes, I do
because
actually.
this week we do have to make predictions because we have a race this weekend.
Yes, so let's
but
give you
before-
let's give you a little
before we
review.
make our predictions, let Azim give us some context.
Yes,
So
so
that
we
we
have
can make up our predictions while he's doing his
Yeah.
thing. Yes, got it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Let's ideally try and keep people out of walls this weekend, friends. Try and keep it family
I
friendly.
cannot guarantee that. But
Come on, Azim, let's go.
Let's show you. So you guys should be able to see. So basically what I have done, and I'll just put this here. Hopefully it all works properly.
Yeah,
Oh,
so far so
yeah.
good.
All right, lovely. So
That's
basically,
why guys say transition OP in chat. We have transitions now. Transition OP in chat.
Yes. So this is basically just me vicariously living my esports fantasies now through this show. This is the latest version of Albert Park that I could find, and this is, of course, the Haas car. It had to be the Haas car for this. It is the Haas F1 2022 ground effect car, and we're going to take you through a lap of Australia and also all the changes that are going to be happening. So straight up. Wait, is that coming from my laptop? It is. Hold on, just a second. Oh no, technical difficulties.
No, it stopped.
It's fine.
There we go. That's sorted. And okay, so this is generally speaking the lap. So now the first thing to notice, of course, is the pit wall on your right. The track has been widened, so the pit wall has been pushed inside. So the track is slightly wider. And we head now into turn 1. The first big change over here is this little green patch you see inside has been widened by 2.5 meters, which is approximately 1 car length, to facilitate A, more overtaking, and B, also it makes this corner a little bit faster. Earlier it was difficult to go side by side. If you wanted to overtake over here, you had to be a little innovative, like Ralf Schumacher, who decided to go over Rubens
Oh,
Barrichello.
dude, you got the
in
replay.
2002.
Kya baat
nice
hai?
one.
Of course I did. Of course I did.
Kya baat hai? I was just thinking about that when you were showing it. I was like, scene of the infamous Ralf Schumacher crash. Yeah.
Okay, so this is your second DRS zone. This is going to be a very big overtaking point because, again, you see the little blue stuff down there. That has been widened as well. So it's now a pretty steep braking point. And you can expect a few dive bombs from certain drivers who I will not mention. But there you go. We take this corner nicely over here. It's a much quicker corner here as well. This corner largely remains the same. We have 2 relatively large changes coming through over here.
That is still flat? In this?
Yeah, that's still flat.
Right-hander still flat? Yeah. Okay.
Right-hander still flat. This one has been widened, I believe, from the left side. So again, it's the minimum speed is higher. It's a much faster, flowy corner. You flow through it over here. Nice catch over there, Azim. And okay, now coming to the biggest
this
change
is the big
in
one,
the track. Right. So up ahead, you have another chicane very similar to the one we just did. But it's not on the track anymore, so fuck that nonsense. We just drive straight through it. And yeah, slipstream straight through.
I feel like this is Azim's excuse to do all the things he can't do in his races.
Yes.
Like, he's supposed to come here and test it up. And just every race, every track is going to be Azim, like, going through the paddock.
Yeah,
like,
no,
the
wait for it.
hospitality area.
Oh, no.
Okay, so
hilarious.
then this is the hero corner of the Australia track. This fast chicane,
yeah.
which is so
Have they
easy
changed
to
this at
mess up.
all?
No, it's exactly the same, and you have to get it
Okay.
exactly right. Because if you get it slightly wrong, well then this happens.
Oh no! Oh no!
Oh.
Okay,
Flash.
on to the third DRS zone, and this now is going to be our primary braking point because this gentle right-hander that you see, it's sort of like a mild parabolic curve, is now a full-on V. So it's a very hard braking zone. Expect to see a lot of lockups over here because it's a new corner and it's an overtaking zone. So again, certain drivers who tend to lock up wheels, you can expect to dive through here. And sector 3 largely remains the same. This nice flowy right-hander over here. This penultimate corner has also been made a little bit wide, and now we come to the most important point of the circuit, which is the DRS line, which just went by. Stop there.
Oh, okay.
That's your DRS line, the little horizontal line you see over there. That's the line potentially we're going to see people braking for while battling, because this DRS detection gives you 2 DRS zones ahead. So it's double of what you get from Jeddah. So can expect potentially to see drivers battling wheel to wheel. And there we go. That is a lap of Australia.
Fantastic.
Love it.
Fantastic. Now this, tell me what other podcast / show
None.
gives you this. And if there are others, I don't want to hear about it. All right? Because I don't really care. Point is, our podcast, just 4 episodes in, gives you graphics, Jehan Daruvala, and a preview lap, which includes Azim going fuck it and just driving over the track the way he wants to.
It's Azim's drive to survive.
Yes.
It,
This is
Full
this
on.
is drive to stream life. I think that's what this was.
Man, that's what the show should have been called.
I was thinking about it. We haven't had an Australian Grand Prix since that "To Whom It May Concern"
Yes.
line. Like that was the last Australian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm excited with the changes you have shown, Azim. It looks like they could be like that first couple of DRS zones, more overtaking and stuff, and typically a racetrack that doesn't see much overtaking.
Two proper overtaking zones this time with widened tracks, so 2 cars can go together at the same time. So it'll be very interesting.
Nice. I'm very much looking forward to it. Or Subha bhi, so you don't have to.
It's
Subha
not
Subha.
raining.
We should should we stream that night? No, I'm not committing to shit like that. I'm not committing to things like that. We'll talk about it and we'll see. Anyway, so now that we're all excited and looking forward to it, predictions. Let's just go alphabetically. Aditya, I'm gonna write them down.
Okay, so Carlos Sainz race win.
Oh,
This is more out of hope than anything. I just want Ferrari to have 2 drivers in the race.
Okay, hold on.
Nice. Okay. Also, it does look like they have added a 4th DRS zone this time. 4 DRS zones. That's crazy. I assume it's going to be after the corner that they've removed, because that's the only place they could add it.
That's like Gillette solving all shaving problems by adding another blade.
Another blade.
Right. That's the FIA's version of ki chalo, ek aur DRS. 4 DRS. Where is the 4th?
I think in the new straight that will be created in sector 2 before the chicane and after the chicane. So it'll be like 2 double DRS then.
Oh my days. That's intense.
Wide. Arjun, predictions.
We're only predicting winner ki top 3.
You predict whatever you want. You predict winner, you predict wall, you predict
Carlos
top 3,
Sainz,
you
Max
predict...
Verstappen, Charlie Leclerc.
Okay. I will go with Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. God, this is such a boring fucking prediction. But I'll put one X Factor also. The X Factor is Valtteri Bottas in the top 5 somehow. I'm saying, chal.
Nice. Yeah. Okay. So for me, it is going to be Max Verstappen. It is going to be Charles Leclerc. And it is going to be Lewis Hamilton.
Wow.
Yes. And my X Factor.
I'm so confused.
Yeah. And no, my X Factor is Magnussen top 5.
Also a former Australian Grand Prix podium person. Yes.
Sherry?
I'm gonna say Charles Leclerc first, Checo second, Lewis third, and my wild prediction is
this is already pretty wild.
Yeah.
I mean, this is pretty wild. What
this
you
is
just
my
said.
wish list now.
And the wild
a DNF from Max. I mean,
Oh.
for whatever reason.
For whatever reason.
I'm not putting him into anything. Just saying.
Maybe he just gets tired and has an existential moment and decides that he doesn't want to finish the race.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Anything can happen. All right.
Yeah, maybe he decides he just wants to watch a movie on
Maybe,
Sunday and doesn't want to race.
maybe, absolutely, 100%. You know, I mean, Simone Biles did it. Max Verstappen is entitled to do it. You are absolutely 100% allowed.
So I'm
do that.
just
It could be
saying, for
anything.
whatever reason.
Absolutely. Okay, I have to do predictions now.
Sure.
I'm not. 3 people have already said, fuck that. No, not fun. I'm going to say Leclerc.
Okay.
Then
That's
I'm
fun.
going to say Max, and I'm going to say Perez.
Leclerc, Max, Perez. And your X Factor thing?
Maybe I don't want to do an X Factor thing, man.
Or
Maybe
do
I
something
want
about
to
Daniel
Oh.
Ricciardo.
plain- Okay.
Ricciardo, yeah.
Chal.
Ricciardo.
X Factor, no?
At home.
X Factor. Ricardo at home would be very
Very nice if he is able to
Yeah.
have a good
but it's not
Yeah.
as good of a Drive to Survive episode.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
As good. Okay, wait. X Factor.
Not as good as, say, potentially Alex Albon finishing on the podium or some random shit like that, you know?
It's Melbourne. It's not going to be that unpredictable, right? It's not,
Unless it
so
rains.
it's not going to be that unpredictable, right? Like this is a former convoy race, right? Basically.
Sort of, yeah.
So it's not going to be okay. So what to put as my X Factor? We've got. You know
I
what?
love how you're actually thinking about the X
I'm
Factor.
thinking about, I'm gonna X Factor it into my main
He's
predictions.
committing
I've
it.
deleted.
He's committing.
I've deleted my predictions. All right.
Ooh.
Okay,
Okay.
great.
Sainz,
Yes, let's go.
Verstappen. That's it.
No, what
Those
did
are
you
my
say?
predictions. I said Leclerc, Sainz 1-2, and then
Okay.
Verstappen third.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's the X factor. Okay, all right,
That's
nice.
the X Factor.
But some
Anyway, I didn't do
people in the
I know
chat
it's unlikely
are,
to happen. I feel like this is definitely going to be Verstappen's race. But it's like if everybody makes the same bet, then what's the fun?
but
Mine's a
chat-
Haas in the top 6, but it's not Magnussen, it's Mick.
Oh, that would be very nice for me.
Chat is pointing out last time Sherry predicted Max DNF, he won the race. So would you like to change that?
No, I'm good. Last time was last time. This time is this time. Anything can happen.
I mean, Sherry's secretly a Red Bull sleeper agent.
All right.
What a great twist that would be. All right, I think with that, we are at the end of this week's episode. I think we are at the end of this week's episode. A lot of people are saying Ricardo getting points, Haas podium, Hamilton to crash out 2 drivers. Proposed wild prediction is Latifi will finish the race.
But
That's
I
the
don't
X
think we'll
factor.
see like a to whom it may concern from Ricciardo. Like at the most formal letter he can go is PFA points. You know, that's all he can do.
Yeah. But I mean, given the track changes, layouts that you articulated so lovely in such a lovely manner, Azim, through your breakdown, I feel like I'm expecting an exciting race at the very least.
Yes.
You know,
I
with
think
lots
so.
of unpredictability thrown in. So yeah,
think
can't
so.
wait
I
to
think
talk
so.
about it with you guys on the Sidepod next week, guys.
Crazy guys, crazy. Last few super chats. Rabiul Islam says predicted Checo win, Max second for Saudi Arabia, rooting the same. Thought on we should talk about this. Thoughts on Vegas being added just before we go.
Oh yeah.
Which means that they have to lose a track at some point, right?
European
They're probably gonna
track,
lose Imola, I'm
yeah.
guessing, right?
No,
Like what,
Imola
you
they
wanna
just
lose
signed
Imola?
again, and
they
I
just
hope they
signed
don't.
again.
I hope they don't lose Imola because what a great track it is.
Mm-hmm.
The others they're talking about is Spa, Monaco, Paul Ricard.
Yeah.
Monaco will never go. I'm worried about Spa.
I can live
genuinely.
without Paul Ricard though. I could totally live without
Likewise.
Paul Ricard.
Likewise.
Yeah. I feel like Paul Ricard ko chhod do. Vegas, apparently the start-finish straight is down the strip. How cool would that be to see like cars
That would be
blast
fun.
down there? Like it would be epic. Like
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I mean it looks interesting like a circuit as a layout and things, and man, it just I think like F1 put out this compilation videos of all the drivers reacting to it, and you could tell like even though they weren't expecting it, when they heard it was going to be Vegas, everybody was like, wow, chalo chalte hain. Like it's
Like party.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, who says no to
parties.
Vegas? Like in the sense.
Exactly, so
Yeah, I
I
think it's gonna be a great race from the vibe. Like, I mean, it'll just be like a fun race to be a part of. I think even to watch or I mean for everyone.
Well,
yeah,
there's
and
also-
I think we
night race,
had
no less.
there was I think Red Bull did a drive around, right? And I mean it looked so cool to see the car around Vegas. And I think it's gonna be pretty epic to as you said, like that start finish straight is gonna be pretty cool.
Man, why does F1 keep giving races to all these companies, to all these countries with poor human rights records and dodgy violence?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Just makes no sense.
It just doesn't make any sense.
On that
We
note,
race as one. Hashtag.
We race as money.
all right.
We race as one giant advertising billboard.
This is also true. This is
That's
okay.
what.
I think that's it. Anything else? Does anybody have anything to plug for the week? Does anybody have
Oh,
shows,
yeah.
work, things that they'd like to plug?
Yes, I do actually. So I have a show in Hyderabad on the 23rd. If you're in Hyderabad, you can check it out. Tickets on Book My Show. I'm also recording stand-up in Mumbai on the 30th. Half the tickets for that are already sold. Again, you can find that on Book My Show. But sell full now, so then I don't have to plug it every week.
Yeah, there we go. Go guys, go buy tickets. Aditya, anything? Arjun, anything? Sherry, anything?
Please
The
watch
usual.
Jehan on. Please watch
Yes.
Jehan. What a lovely, sweet,
Yeah.
polite little boy. I mean, not little
Yes.
boy, young man who joined us on the podcast today. And yeah,
Yeah, today's plug is root for Jehan. Everybody
root for
Yes, good
Jehan.
one.
Yes.
Hashtag
startup.
Hashtag root for Jehan. Not hashtag at but.tech on Instagram. If you guys care about me talking about F1 or F2 on Instagram every day.
Done. All right.
Is that it?
It is.
All right. On that note, friends, it's been a great episode. It's been real, as always. It's been fun. Let's see what happens this weekend, and we shall chat. And chat, thank you so much for tuning in. There's I got 1,200 likes. Yes, we are doing well. On that note, friends, Shabba Khair, Shubhratri, good night. Love you all.
Satriyan. Sada plan, guys. L plan. Lay plan. All right. Goodbye.